Alright, in the last video I was dealing with this whole subframe issue. Yeah, still waiting to get that situated, but today I'm gonna try to do some work here on the front end, get these cables out. Already took the old handlebars back off of the bike right there. And today I'm gonna change out this kickstand because it is bent. I have a replacement kickstand right here. First challenge is there's the top piece that I gotta put a wrench on, while I'm also breaking the torque on that one under that, but the jack is in the way. So I'm gonna have to move this because the bike has to be supported when we do this, obviously. Why is this not coming off? All right, I just realized what happened. So when I took off the shocks in the last video, it made the rear end of the bike sit lower. So that's why the bike is not able to come off the jack. Let me show you what I mean. It's sitting lower than it should here in the back. So what I'm gonna do is probably jack it up temporarily from the swing arm just to get enough height to be able to move this jack out of the way. All right, so because I didn't know what the heck I was doing in the first place, I didn't think this through. I put the right shock back on, and basically that allowed the bike to raise up enough to where I can get it off the jack and at least realign it so I can get this kickstand changed out. Oh, that is not on the frame at all. All right, so that should be enough to do what I need to do, and also I can swing this kickstand almost closed. All right, so got the nut off. Oh. All right, there's that. So I'll retract this to the. Whoa! That is why they say wear eye protection. Wow. Okay, that just made my life a little bit easier, but that, this is why you wear eye protection. Yikes. And there's that spring just hanging. And this is our brand new kickstand. So I think I got it for like 106 or something. Compared to the older one. New? Old. Right now I'm just taking some steel wool and cleaning up these rusty components, and then of course we're going to put some grease on these joints and we're going to put it back on. All right, next we got to put some grease on some stuff. This is my Molly grease that I got from AutoZone. It's like $5 for this whole tube. I've had this since I was dealing with the 109. But we're going to put some grease on that perch right there, and then we're going to put some grease on the shoulder of this bolt, and then when I'm done with, of course, I'm going to put some lithium grease on it probably. I think that's what it's called. Basically to make sure this thing's lubed and good to go when it's going in and out. Just take a little bit like that, and you just dab it on there. I've dabbed quite a bit already, and you just spread it on there. And of course we're gonna put some on the shoulder of this bolt only, not on the actual threads. All right, so put the spring and the hook like that. I'm gonna put the other end in the frame, and hopefully we don't get the previous result like that. I want to say go back to the original position, just like this. Oh, it's not going. It ain't going. It's supposed to slide in place. There we go. Had to give it a little persuasion. All right, now we're gonna take our screw, put it where it needs to be. Then we're gonna take our nut. We're gonna put the nut back on top, and we're gonna tighten this bad boy down. Don't fall out. All right, now I gotta torque it down. We should be good. Let's see. Yeah, man. All right, then, bet. All right, it's done. It moves freely as it's supposed to, and it has been torqued down. It's actually the first thing I've torqued down since we started, because I knew a bunch of stuff was gonna be coming on and off the bike. So, all right. There we go. It's on it. That looks so much better and gives me so much more confidence when it's sitting compared to what it used to sit. Ah, yeah, now we're getting somewhere, baby. Small wins. And once again, the difference, man, this is the old bent kickstand, so clearly this thing was, yeah, I think it was like that when it was sitting right, because it has to sit in that pivot correctly. Yeah, that is crazy how that little device makes such a huge difference. As I've been saying off camera, that subframe, it's a hole, but we're gonna move on. But I'm gonna fix that hole. I'm gonna turn that hole into a housewife. But right now there is no Merry Christmas and a ho ho ho. Well, there's a ho ho ho, but it ain't a Merry Christmas. All right, so clutch cable. I already took this one routing bracket off, put it back in the frame so I don't forget where it's at. And basically what we got down here, we got this we need to take off, probably a 6 I think, and then we need to take this off, take it out of this perch, and we should be able to get the cable out. All right, that was easy. And we'll put this bolt back in the frame so I'll know where it's at for later. I'll take this cable out of the routing right here. And here's the old clutch handle. I think I'm gonna deal with these brakes next. We're gonna go ahead and get this master cylinder off. I truthfully hate dealing with brake fluid. It is the most disgusting crap. Oh dear. There we go. Just gonna set that in there. And just like that, this kind of keeps this thing from dripping. I can go back and clean up the paint that I dripped on the paint. The brake fluid that I dripped on the paint really fast. But I'm gonna leave that in that bucket to drip until I figure out what I need to do with that. All right, folks, it is the next day and I've had some time to think. So today I'm gonna get these signal lights off. I'm gonna get these forks off, and I'm gonna clean this rust around here just to make it look better. From my knowledge, there's absolutely no issue going full lock on either side. And also I vigorously shook these forks to make sure that there's no play. And also, I don't hear anything wrong with these bearings that allows the front suspension to do its job, but there is some pit rust in there that I don't like. The problem is once you take this off, the lower triple tree and the stem comes out, you have to readjust that. And I don't know if I really want to deal with that. And also, I slept on it. I don't know if I actually want to get this painted, because if I get this painted, I'm going to have to get this piece painted to get it to match. And then I'm gonna have to readjust this. But like I said, it full locks as it's supposed to. There's no kinks or anything. There's no weird noises. It's one of those if it ain't broke, don't fix it type situations. But you know, I'm gonna try to polish it out, but these scratches are pretty deep. So worst case scenario, I take it all off and it gets painted. But either way, I'm gonna take this front wheel off, and we're gonna take the risers off, and we're gonna try to get some of this pit rust cleaned up. So you see that pit rust quite a bit right there, and that's under the steering nut adjustment right there. And if you take that off, I might be able to get in there, but we're gonna see. Also decided to keep this brake line. I was gonna change it out. If it works with the handlebars, I'm gonna leave it alone, but this brake line looks pretty much spanking brand new. It had a lot of grease buildup on it, and that's what made me think there was something wrong with the cable. So take that off, that side off. All right, so to get this wheel off is pretty simple. We got 2 pinch bolts right here. Once we take those off, then we put the correct component in here to basically break this loose. This slides out and the rear wheel drops with it. So I'm probably gonna sit this back on the ground so it doesn't move, but once we do that, we gotta make sure we don't lose that spacer. But this will give us the opportunity to, you know, check and make sure there's nothing weird going on with the wheel. But as you guys can hear, it sounds like a regular wheel with the rotor going through the brake pads. There's 1. There's 2. The magical 6 from Indian. Got some pressure. Oh, that's tightening. Oh, iron is messing up. There we go. There we go. Somewhere. Just roll that out the way. That's still mounted to that fork, so we're good there. And this gives us a chance to look at, you know, these components of this this wheel that was in an accident. This is our front axle. Looks really good. Probably could use some grease. Like I said before, the whole reason I'm doing this is, you know, to try to clean up these little rust spots, and also there from the back. But I can tell you guys, the engineers did really well designing this bike. It's pretty well intact given what this bike has been through. So I can say like the engineers did a really good job designing this bike. And I don't know if engineers, you know, design motorcycles the same way they do cars for as far as like impact or collision testing, but this bike has been through a lot and I'm trying my best to get it back to a safe and rideable condition. But so far, man, it's looking pretty good, other than a few rust spots. I will say this bike has quite a few rust spots, considering the bike it was sitting out in the rain for months probably, so we're getting it done. And right here you guys can get a real good look at the bearing or the inside of this hub on the opposite side. Everything here looks really freaking good, man. Look at that. That's the bearing. Looks really good. Sit that down briefly. Ooh, on that rock. There's no excessive play in there. Like I said, the big thing is just add some grease back in here. I'm putting everything back so everything kind of freely spins. But again, this looks so freaking good, man. I'm so happy that this looks, you know, there's no weird rotor shake or anything like on the 109 that I had, but everything here is looking good. So it's pretty easy to take these off. Around like that. I'll put that back in there so we don't lose it. Same thing. Whoa, got spider webs behind that. Wow. We got 3 bolts. We got one here, and one at the top. All right. Just one. 2. All right, before we can get that left fork off, I realized we gotta handle the brake caliper before we can do any of this. So the brake caliper is being held by these 2 bolts right here, and we got the wheel speed sensor right here. So basically I'm gonna take these 2 bolts off, and then we're gonna bungee cord this to the frame so it's not hanging. We don't wanna damage this brake line or, you know, put any more stress on it. Yeah, I should have definitely done this with the wheel on. It's not impossible, but it's just more difficult than it needed to be because I don't have the leverage. Woo! That should be okay. As long as that's not hanging by that line. And we've got 1 bolt right there that's holding the wheel speed sensor. So we'll go ahead and take that off. This is what the wheel speed sensor looks like. This essentially determines how fast you're going to get your mileage, your speed, and also I think this sends calculations to the ABS module. Those parts would have been a lot easier to get off if I still had the wheel on because I would have had more leverage, but we're learning. Either way it goes, it's off. Oh, this is not as easy as I thought it was gonna be. Might need some hammer of persuasion. And don't forget, we got some rust spots here, so this stuff is could be holding this in there, and also you can see a little bit of pitting in there as well that I'm going to get cleaned out. It is coming out. Let's see. Woo. Oh, the 109s were not this hard to come out. Oh dear, this is hard, guys. I should have ate my Wheaties. Oh, freaking coming out. Oh my god. Dude, I'm tired. I am freaking tired. I done broke a sweat. So, if I recall, the directions don't say anything about loosening both sides because one side of the fork isn't being, I guess, held, the force of it isn't being held in by the other side. So, the fact that I took the bolts off of one side, it should come off, but I think it's just, it's tight in there from the rust and the rain, and it's just settled in there. So, all right, same thing. We got 2 up, 1 up top. It's not really a lot holding this thing on here. On the bottom. And 1 here. Like I said, I don't think this is really. Oh God. Alright. It's dust and grime all in these things. Oh Lord. God damn it, man. What the Alright, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take a socket. I'm gonna turn it upside down. And I'm gonna take that mallet, I'm gonna gently hammer this thing and see if I can get it to come out. Because like I said, this rust around here is also around this cap. And these things have very small clearances on being able to slide in and out of these barrels freely. And I think that rust that you can barely see right in there, that's basically sliding up against this chamber, making it a little bit harder to get out. But we're gonna get it out regardless, but let's see what we can do. All right, we have cleared one portion of this. Now you guys can get a real good look at that rust that I'm talking about. Yeah, that's no good. You see the inside of that? That's needs to be cleaned. So it could be that there's some pitting inside of that that's causing this to not move freely. At least that's my initial thought. Oh, here we go. All right, so we got that fork off. It looks fine. What I'm thinking, man, is, again, there's, you know, debris in here. It needs to be clean. There's, you know, all of this kind of prevents this cylinder from, you know, moving freely in there. But I don't feel, you know, anything that's just out of place. I'm gonna lightly clean this so there's nothing preventing it from going back in. Like that marring right there, I think that's just like, maybe that might be the reason why. I don't know, but it doesn't feel like a dent. I don't know. A little bit of finger grease. All right, after breaking a sweat, man, leaving and coming back, I've actually gotten this thing to the point of coming out. So I was saying earlier how this is like dirty on the inside. I was actually testing putting the other one back. You can see how this one is now. All of this matters when you're trying to get these forks on and off, because there's not, you're not even, I'm talking like, I don't even know what's less than 1/4 of an inch. You don't have much room when you're sliding these things in and out. So it's very hard to get these out when you have like pieces of rust and debris in this chamber right here. And this is just all of that. And I end up using some PB Blast and a rubber mallet to gently just hammer this thing out, and finally got it out. They look fine. They're not seized as far as the rebound when you're compressing them. It's just trying to get these things in and out. But this rust pitting right here makes these things so much harder to get in and out. Also, you can see where I was hammering it to get it on and off. That will be fine. I don't really care about replacing that as long as these forks are where they need to be. And it's interesting that the dust seals and everything look just fine on these. There's no leaks or anything. So I'm going to clean these up, and then I'm going to proceed to possibly taking off this top triple tree or triple clamp. I'm not going to take the bottom one off, because if you take the bottom one off, you have to realign it. I don't want to do that. So we got one piece right here. It's going to also take it off, and I'll be able to possibly get a wire wheel in there and clean some of that rust pitting. I ain't gonna lie to you guys, I'm getting a little bit discouraged, man. These forks have really put it on me, man. Alright, as you guys can see, I had to go call in the cavalry, but I got a lot of that pit rust off of the cap. I ended up going to pick up a very cheap rotary tool with a steel attachment, and it's allowing me to buff a lot of this stuff off. I've also came in here and buffed off a lot of this surface level grime that was in here. This is basically like just polishing the surface. It's not like digging into it or anything. So what I'm doing with this is take this tool and gently just And after a few minutes of work, that is the final result. There's no more rust, and it looks a lot better, and it should slide back in the triple clamps a lot better. All right, like I said before, we got rust under here too. I'm gonna do the same treatment. What I'm gonna do is use this 30, go ahead and take this off. I'm gonna try not to take the risers off. Also, I need to clean that up with the same treatment. If I can't get this off, because I want to just kind of lift it and then just sit it back on it when I'm done. It's fairly simple. That was pretty easy. This just lifts up. Alright. Yeah, I should definitely be able to get to that. Alright, so this is what the front end completely looks torn apart. I was going to originally take this off, but I didn't want to have to adjust it. And I'm actually rubbing my hand under here. I'm actually still getting grease. This is a new bike, so it definitely is still greased. That's good to know. But I just want to get that pit rust off of there from when the bike was sitting out. And this is the upper triple clamp with the riser still on there. So yeah, that's cool to see, right? So while I had this off, I did go ahead and use the rotary tool to clean up the rust spots that were in the riser grooves. You can see that. So on this side, I'm not fully done, but you can see the difference in the part that's clean and the part that still has rust. So it's just a little nice touch that I'm doing. It probably won't even be an issue, but you know, if I already got it off, might as well do it. Alright, after about 10 minutes of work, this is where we are. Cleaned up a lot of that rust. I'm not gonna lie to you and say that I'm completely satisfied. I'm not really able to get right here like I want to. So I'm gonna see if I can come up with another solution, but the whole goal, of course, is to clean up this rust, but I don't want to take this off because it's already aligned properly. You know, it goes exactly the way it's supposed to without any snags. Worst case scenario, I'll take this off because I really want to get that rust. I just don't like the way that looks. You know, when I give this bike away, I want it to be like a bike that I would ride myself, and that to me is not acceptable. But that is where I think I'm going to end this video. I'm going to decide what I'm going to do with this off camera, and I guess I'll show you guys whatever I decide to do later. But I think I've done a lot, and I think I may have bored some of you. I better not have bored you, but yeah, we got a lot done, and I'm happy to see that the forks are cleaned, and you know, we got a lot of this rust off. And the next step is trying to get these parts painted and get that subframe finally fixed. This little tool from Harbor Freight, 30 bucks. It has done well, and I'm still using it on other parts of the bike. You know, cleaning up rust pits, because you know where the bike fell over, not to hide them, but so that rust doesn't get worse. And of course, the bike just looks so much better when it doesn't have rust spots. But hey, if you're new here and you want to catch up on this series and start from the very beginning, know how much I paid for this bike and know how this even started to begin with, you can click this playlist right here on the screen. You can start from the beginning. And also, if you want to become a member of the channel, you can also click down below and hit join, and you can support the channel in a different way. But as always, thanks for listening to my story. And if you subscribe, I will see you in the very next one. Peace.